Muted. Welcome. We want to welcome you to our third session in the series of partnership webinars that we've been hosting over the last couple of months. Today, I have some awesome guests joining us from Upfluence and Anzen. And today, we're going to show you some really cool strategies that you can apply to recruiting affiliates and influencers and helping motivate them so you can drive additional revenue to your business. As I mentioned earlier, we're actually going to be on YouTube. We do ask that you're respectful of the folks that are attending as well as our speakers. And if you have any questions, you can always pop them into the chat message on the right side. And you can also subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified about future digital events or any other future videos that we'll be posting. So with that said, I'd like to introduce our speakers. So we're going to go ahead and start with you, Kevin.
Hey, hi everybody. So my name is Kevin. You can hear the accent. I'm actually French, but I live in New York. I'm the founder and CEO of Upfluence. Just to introduce Upfluence really quick, we're an influencer marketing software company. We help about 23,000 people scale their influencer marketing efforts through our Chrome extension and mostly our influencer marketing suite of software. So we help our customer contact, activate, and manage their influencers at scale.
Awesome. And Jason, if you want to take it from here.
Hi guys, my name is Jason. I'm the general manager at Anzen. We're a customer journey agency with offices in Australia, LA, and the Philippines. And we specialize in helping merchants with their automated and one-to-one messaging, so email SMS marketing. And today I'll be talking a lot about how you can flip that strategy to treat your ambassadors like those customers.
Awesome, awesome. And for those of you who are joining us and are newly hearing about Refersion, a little bit about us. We brands with consumers using affiliate and influencer marketing, and we help them do that at scale. We actually offer two products. We have our flagship product designed and built for merchants to manage, optimize, and scale their affiliate influencer programs. And then we also have Refersion Marketplace that built for merchants to connect with influencers and affiliates. And it's the world's fastest growing network out there. And it allows influencers and affiliates to connect with brands directly in the most transparent way possible. So cool. I'm going to hand it over to you, Kevin.
Sounds great. So I'm going to share my screen, I suppose, right? That's the plan here. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, everybody seeing my screen? Okay, so what I want to talk about today with you guys is kind of how to recruit and grow your influencer network, because there's the boundary between affiliates and influencer has grown thinner and thinner. So making sure that you have a large enough network is extremely important to generate sales and drive ROI online. What I'm going to focus on during kind of talk is the best way to build your network. There are two ways that I'm going to talk about. The first one is what we call the traditional way. It's what has been done for a very long time and that you're probably familiar with, or at least you can start. And the other one is a new take on an old thing and a new way to grow communities for, let's say, smaller brands. So without further ado, okay, let's start with the traditional way. So what you see here, that funnel that looks a little scary, but if any of you have done influencer marketing a couple of years, it's very, very likely that you have used that funnel in to build your network. It's used by thousands of companies worldwide, and it's been extremely successful, basically building influencer marketing into the industry it is today. The funnel works in very easy steps. You usually start with a large database of influencers. You can go straight on Instagram or on YouTube. You find some people you like, but you can also just go straight on a software like Upfluence, kind of a special. Once you have found some people you like, you reach out to them, either DMs or emails. Some of them are going to answer you, some of them aren't, and you're going to send them a product or a payment, or if you're lucky, nothing at all, and you're going to get them to publish some content online. This is by far, I would say today, 99% of our customers use that methodology to recruit and their influencers and grow their network. But what we realized is that It's great, but it works a lot better when your brand has a strong reputation. So if you're Microsoft or Tesla, you contact anybody on the planet, they will know who you are. They will know what your brand stands for, and they will know if they want to work with you beforehand or not. If you're a small e-commerce that's independent, your brand is not very well known yet, nobody has any idea of who, like if your brand has good products or if your brand has a good reputation. So they're taking more of a gamble. What we realize is that it's a really big issue at Upfronts, because it means that 50% of our customers that are small brands, that are independent, are spending a lot more time and a lot more effort to build their network of influencers. And I'm sure if I asked in the audience, if any of you have struggled in the past to reach out to a lot of people, got no answer back, or ridiculous price ask, I'm sure a lot of you would have like testimonies to share. So we understand the same problems, even though that methodology will eventually get the ball rolling and your community will grow and will work out. So it's still something extremely relevant. We also wanted to find another way for our smaller customers to actually grow their network. So we looked at the problem and we realized that the real big issue of our basically all of our customers is that their community around the brand is split across different boxes. I have 3 as an example here, but it's actually tens of different like silos and boxes in different softwares. So for example, you have your customers on one side. The customers are the people that buy your product. Obviously, they are in your CMS or in your CRM. You have your influencers on another side. They are usually in your Excel spreadsheet or in Upfront software, and then you have your affiliates in Refersion, for example. All these communities are not talking to each other. All these databases, all these softwares are separate. SERs do one thing, but it's really hard to connect them to your affiliate programs, and your customers buy your product, but are certainly not your influencers and are certainly not your affiliates. But we realized that if we broke these boxes and we actually managed to create a system capable of recruiting your influencers straight from the customers that already and turn these influencers automatically into affiliates and track their success and how much sales they generate, that's when you could really look at your entire systems with an S as one unified community that kind of like you can build something out of. There is a real business rationale to actually working with customers that love your brand instead of randomly contacting people that are in line. The numbers you see is actually a real metric that we know. We know that metric because we sometimes work for large brands, and when we contact people, let's say we work for Microsoft that have worked with Microsoft in the past or that have mentioned one of their products, let's say a laptop in the past, then these people are way more likely to work with us. They're way more likely to give us a great rate if we have to pay them in any way. So there is a really business rationale to actually working with people that love your brand and not just with random people online that you think fits your brand. But the issue is that that's great. But if tomorrow, like it's an example we use, it's pretty cheesy, but I think it's kind of exemplified. If tomorrow you have like Kim Kardashian or Jessica Alba that goes on your website and signs up to your newsletter or buy one of your products, it's very likely that you will never realize that she did. And if they did, it's probably very likely you won't do anything about it. So obviously, we built a system to do just this. This system that I'm going to show you, it's what we have done at Upfronts, but it's really more of a business concept as a whole. You can look at it as if it was kind of an inspirational thing that you could probably build yourself or turn around so that it works. But I'm going to talk to you how Live Capture, our new system that we just launched, basically identifies from your customers and visitors people so that you can turn them into ambassadors. How it works is that basically Live Capture is going to connect to different steps of your customer journey. We're going to connect with your visitors when they sign up for your newsletter, for example, or ask for a promo code. We're going to connect to Klaviyo and Drip and other softwares like this. For customers, we're going to connect to through Shopify, Magento, or your CRMs. And we're going to be able, when they purchase, to maybe gather some more information. And then we're going to connect to other communities like your affiliates in other ways. Live Capture does something, in essence, really simple. which is it's going to add to all these softwares the ability to gather some social media handle information. So for example, when subscribe to your newsletter, instead of providing just their age and their email, they will also have the option to provide their Instagram handle. When somebody checks out, just providing their address and their phone number, they will also be allowed, if they want to join your community, to provide their TikTok handle, for example. And on Refersion, we connect in different ways. That means that instantly Upfront is going to be able to give you an entire layer of information about your customer, which is all their social data. We're going to process that data so that you know from your customers that signed up who is influential, who has a large community and could be an extremely valuable influencer, and who is basically casual users like you and I. We'll also be able to tell you from these users who has mentioned your brands in the past, who has mentioned your competitors, and have they worked with any of them. That information is also synced back to all the softwares we connect to. So on Klaviyo, you'll be able to instantly access information and create cohorts, and you will be able to automatically invite these people to Refersion to your affiliate program, for example. Obviously, after that, we have tools to contact these people and manage the relationship with them or track your sales. But what I want to talk about today, if that's okay with you guys, is kind of a use case or case study, I would say, a case study of a customer that signed up 2 weeks ago with us that set up Live Capture. Live Capture is really recent. We launched it 2 weeks ago, and it's a big move for us. It's changing our entire company because it's been working really well. I have 9 days of data to share with you. This customer is a healthy snack store online. They generate about 20,000 visits a month on Shopify. So I have 9 days of data to share. We can look at it together. On their website, a small pop-in, just the same pop-ins you use when you sign up people to your newsletter or when you want them to get promo codes, except that this pop-in also had Instagram handle. That's the pop-in that comes with the Upfront software by default. And they signed up about 5% of their visitors to the system in 9 days. We had from the signups about 2/3 were casual users like you and I will dive into what they've done with these signups right after. People that were what we call nano and micro influencers, so people that either have around 1,000 followers in their community all the way to 10,000. 12 actual legitimate professional influencers that also sign, and that was in just 9 days for a pretty small website. So I think it's to look at. What they did with that information was actually really interesting to us. We are not of cohort creation and email marketing and that kind of thing. Anzen, who is talking right after us, is really a specialist of all of these. So I think their take on it is super interesting. I had a preview of that presentation, so I'm giving you a little tease. So basically what they did is, because they had all the information about number of followers, engagement rate, and that kind of stuff, they were actually able to create cohorts. Smaller people, they would have different actions than very large influencers. So with that casual users, I think it's interesting what they did. The casual users, they of course added them to their newsletter, but also they actually looked at the content that casual users were producing. They looked at the posts they were publishing, they looked at the bio in that description, and they realized that there was a persona, and maybe more than one actually in the future, but so far they've identified at least one persona of user that they didn't know they had in their client base. In their community, we're talking about, we're very religious, talking about church, Bible, talking about Jesus. And so they added marketing playbook just because they were able to access all that content that people push online about themselves. So I think this is a kind of an interesting case. For the people that were a little small, a little larger, like nano, micro, all the way to the very large, they automatically invited them to their affiliate program on Refersion and automatically allowed them to receive, links, codes to promote the product to their friends and family or communities and generate sales. And for the larger guys, they either move them to their influencer network on Upfluence to sponsored post opportunities, or they actually, very large guys, they haven't done this yet, but they are planning on actually having a real ambassador, which is like organizing events, doing photo shoots with the guys so they can promote their product. I think this is interesting how like just one simple extra data you receive about your customers can open so many new possibilities. What I like about this system compared to the traditional way is the way most influencer networks are built today require a lot to wake up in the morning, contact 1,000 people, hope some of them are going to sign up with you, and it works, but it's a lot of effort, especially as a small brand. Whereas you put that system in place, you just plug the cables, you connect all the systems, and suddenly every day passively you grow your network. You generate visits. These visits, these ambassadors generate traffic and sales, and then this traffic and these sales generate more visits that generate more ambassadors that generate more traffic and more sales. So you have this community that's passively growing versus a community that you are actively trying to grow through outbound means. Yes, I think just a new take on kind of building a community with influencers. I'd say much more about it. I think we'll have some time for maybe questions after. But I just wanted to kind of share with you guys like this new way that we have launched. We have seen it very successful, and we figured you'd be interested to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. That you don't have to spend your life reaching out to people on Instagram for a community. And I think there is a smarter way to do things. That's for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. So it looks like there's a couple of questions in the audience here. So let me just go ahead and bring you in center. So the first one is from Lilia. I hope I pronounced your
Hmm.
name, Lilia. So curious about how to merge influencers and affiliate channels. Make it more appealing to influencers to sign up for your communications rather than commissions rather than for flat fees.
So that is what was the name of the person that asked the question?
Uh, Lilia.
Yeah, this is a great question. To be fair, this is probably the number one problem of small brands that start doing influencer marketing. It's they contact like hundreds of people online. They're super excited. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna get so many people to talk about my product." And what happens is they receive a lot of answers saying, "Hey, I want $2,000. I want $3,000," and none of them want to commit to something. This is actually the answer I just described. You won't get 100% like signups on your affiliate program that way, but you will get a lot more signups because these people, they know your product. And even better than that, think about the practical aspects of things. If you contact a random person on the internet, even for them to publish a post, they at least need right, because they need to take a picture of it, they need to do a video of it. And so that means that they ask you for a free product, a payment, and then affiliation payments. And it's not a bad thing. They have a community that are generating value for you, and it could work, but you're just too small to make it work so far. But if you work with your existing customers, these people already have your product. Taking a picture takes them 30 seconds FedEx to ship it. So they have instant access to the product to do promotional material. So the kind of the hurdles around like promoting your product and doing affiliate is a lot smaller. And so you're going to get a much better conversion rate overall to generate these affiliates. But even with a system like this, some people will always be kind of like the larger person that usually the ones we cost are always going to be a little reluctant to do this, while the smaller micro nano are probably what you want to have as your core affiliate kind of mix.
Yeah, and just to add a little color on that, Kevin, last week I just spoke at Socialite's Shopify meetup, and we talked about how to move your influencers specifically from the pay-per post model to a more commission performance base. And what we brought to the table where there are two models that you can potentially start applying to your larger influencers, and those are really blended models. So rather than going cold turkey from pay-per post over to commission structure, which you might want to consider also, is a flat fee that's lower than your usual pay per post, but then supplement that with potential earnings through a commission structure like temp your commission at. Another idea that we brought to the table was this idea of leveraging your customers, but using it for micro and nano influencers, where of a flat fee, you're offering custom swag or free product or gift cards. And that allows you to keep those commissions within your store and still offer them a performance commission, keeps your CPA fairly lower than usual. In addition to that, we've had brands that have rebranded or rebuilt their entire affiliate programs from scratch with Vita, and they saw significant increases across the board and even bigger signups because they had those tier structures on the affiliate side, or they call it their ambassador. But yeah, I hope that helps as well. Awesome. And then we have one more question from Kanishk. What is the difference between affiliates and influencers, the way they choose to get paid, like content versus sales?
Should I take that one?
Yeah, sure.
So to be fair, if you look back in time, like to 10 years ago, an affiliate was mostly a media, right? So a blog or a line that had track links. And then you had the entire movement of people on Instagram, on YouTube that emerged, and these guys getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the lines started blurring, and it was more and more individual people. In theory, an influencer is just somebody that has an audience and can promote anything, but not necessarily sell something. An affiliate, by essence, generate sales. So the affiliate's mission to drive traffic to a website, sell a product, and get a commission out of that. That's the business model. The business model of an influencer these days is you want to rent my community for a post or for one video or a story, then you're going to pay me that much. And in addition to that, sometimes you get component. The issue is because most influencer softwares are not integrated with affiliation softwares, influencer softwares, affiliation software, yeah, are not integrated together. Data is really hard, and being able to identify like one post generated 65 sales is just the holy grail of marketing, and this is what we're building these days with Refersion, actually. So I hope I answered your question.
Awesome. Cool. So we're going to hand it over to Jim. I believe more questions are coming in, but we'll definitely touch base with those questions as we get towards the end of the presentations. But Jason, if you want to take over from here.
Yeah, great. Awesome. So I said earlier, we're going to chat a little bit today about how you can start engaging those audiences. And Kevin's given us a really good prime on some of the ways that we can think about our community. But I've got a few practical ideas that hopefully you guys will be able to take away after this and plug straight into your marketing strategy. So we've already done some intros, but yeah, like we said earlier, I'm the general manager at Anzen. And Anzen is a customer specialized in automated digital messaging. So let's jump in to the meat of it. How to segment for success. So obviously Kevin showed you some really cool cohorts, and Upfluence does a really, really great job at helping you identify some of those. But the next step is actually thinking about, how you want to contact these people and what do you want to say. So some really simple things are just targeting based on their location, their time zone, whether they're local to your brand or one of your brand locations, or whether they're a global influencer. This is a really important thing to keep in mind, because if you think about your product and you think about your brand, particularly if you're a smaller merchant, let's say selling headphones in Sweden, you might be creating a lot of content. People are really rugged up. Maybe they're in the snow, maybe they're on cobblestone streets. And a lot of that imagery and assets isn't going to have the same impact on someone in California trying to take a run on the beach with their headphones as it is with your potential customers that are in. Looking at influencers, something that can be really helpful is to actually break your influencers down by location, so that when you're wanting to communicate with them about an upcoming launch, or you're sending them a new product to trial, you can give them some advice on the type of content that you would like to see. And that's going to allow you to create a really diverse and really wide range of content that you're going to be able to use in your own marketing. But it's also going to create a really wide range of content that your potential customers are going to be able to see as well. You've also got really simple things like communicating with your influencers in their time zone. So if you're going to send an email out at 9 a.m. for you, that could be 6 p.m. or midnight for your influencers. So your email platforms can help you do some really simple segmentation so that you've optimized that. And then of course, for local and global, there's some really easy activation events that you might want to run that you should be conscious of. So if you've got stores in particular locations, or if your head office is, you might want to just create a little segment of influencers that you know that you're going to be able to engage with in person and be able to invite those people to specific events or photo shoots. The next thing, and what Kevin was teasing before, was communicating with people based on their platform and their community size. So this is something that can be really, really powerful. Like Kevin was saying, you might find that you get a lot of people in your community that are just casual social media users. But those people, just by the virtue of the fact that they're not posting and they're not advertising products a lot, their recommendation can often carry the most amount of weight. So by breaking your consumers up, you might actually find that you have a really large casual audience that, like Kevin said, might give you some insight into an audience that you didn't really know that you had, that you can work into your but it might also give you an idea of the type of customers and maybe the type of content that you could be getting out there. And then, of course, for people with larger sizes, up to really, really well with Klaviyo, with Drip, if you're using that. So you can actually really easily create some segments of influencers who have, say, above X number of Instagram followers, and send those people really specific content. You can even segment out your emails. So you might take everyone who has a popular Instagram and YouTube following and then send them emails with recommended content for those specific platforms. And then for other people that might be more popular on something like TikTok, you can send them different content or different information for them to be sharing on their platforms. You can also use Refersion to be tracking your affiliate performance, which is another really, really beneficial thing to do. So again, Refersion integrates with Klaviyo, if that's the email platform that you're using, but there's plenty of others, MailChimp in there as well. That allows you to get some sense of who's performing really well in terms of the total amount of customers that they've referred and who's not. And you might want to take those high performing customers and send them either bonus or extra exclusive content as a reward. And that actually helps you gamify your affiliate program as well by having this group of really high performing affiliates that are getting, their affiliates are going to want to strive to reach that. But at the same token, if you can see that you've got affiliates that are underperforming, you can then put some strategies in place to try and communicate with them, whether again that's sending them unique content, or maybe it's inviting them to activation events or sending them more product information that's going to help them get more buy-in and then ultimately be able to refer more customers. The next thing that we're going to chat about is setting expectations. So this is something that you can really do really easily by integrating Upfluence and Refersion with your email platform. So there'll be certain metrics that will be applied to these users once they are added into your platform, and you can use those things to trigger automation. So whether that's them being tagged as an affiliate in Refersion or them having signed up in Upfluence by putting their handles in, you're going to be able to drop people into an automation that allows you to start setting expectations with your affiliates and the things that you want from them as a brand, but also giving them some guidelines. So, specific language that you want them to use, specific types of photos or angles that you want them to use. You can also, over the first few days of them signing up, start to educate them more about the brand. So you might want to give them information that you have about your key customer demographics, whether that's their gender, their age, their location. That type of information is going to be really valuable for affiliates and your influencers because it's going to help them understand who in their community for your brand and how they can position that post to get the most cut through. You can also provide them with really high performing content examples that you can use. So if you've seen affiliates or influencers in the past post particular types of content that have really performed well, you can use those examples to affiliates and influencers, and whether that's providing them with YouTube videos, examples of the post, maybe even a Dropbox that has examples of the post with example metrics. All of these things are going to be really, really helpful for your influencers and affiliates to understand through and how they can create content that's actually going to resonate with their community, but also drive engagement with the brand. The other thing you might want to do in an automated series is provide them with battle cards. So whether that's a breakdown of a product comparison against a key competitor, this can be really valuable if your product is a really disruptive product in the industry. You might have a lot of key information about your product that's going to explain why your product is different. Or otherwise, you can just share really simple FAQs. So these could be really simple things around sizing, if it's a fashion product, or maybe just the finer details of your product. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is some actual content examples that are going to drive some success. I know a lot of people on the call are thinking these are really good ideas that we could put into place, but how do we actually create them and how to make them look? So I wanted to make sure we included some really practical examples of campaigns that you could run. Now, this is a campaign style that we've actually run with quite a few of our clients, but to their database, where we actually pick our high performing affiliates and include them in an email campaign. And this really benefits you and your affiliate. It allows your affiliate to maybe open up to an audience they haven't been introduced to yet and potentially gain some new followers, but it also allows you to share a lot of user generated content that's really nice and in context and really going to help your customers maybe have their eyes open to whether it's a new collection or a new product, or even just a category of your brand they haven't seen yet. The next one is behind the scenes content. So this is a campaign that we ran with a client called Gooseberry. So they shot a campaign with a great influencer who's a photographer. His name is Clint. And while they were shooting their campaign, they shot 2 colors in particular with Clint that he really loved. And what we decided to do was we released a collection with the main colorways. And then a couple of weeks later, we released a little bonus collection, and we called the collection For You. And it was all based around behind the scenes shooting of the collection with these 2 other colorways that Clint really loved. And we basically wrapped those up almost like in a collaboration with Clint. But the purpose of the campaign was really showing what it's like to be in the photo shoot, behind the scenes, all the fun that the models are having, that the photographers are having, that the brand's having. And it just helps bring the brand to life a little bit more and give the brand a bit of personality. But these are the sort of things that you can do with your influencers and with your affiliates by, I guess, pulling the curtain back a little bit. It creates really raw and really true content. And that's that type of content that's going to get real cut through with customers. And then the other one, of course, is influencer collaborations, where brand here in Australia called Muscle Nation, and they've done a really, really good job of being proactive with their influencers and with customers that have a large following on social media, with working with them to create products that they love and then getting them out to the market. These campaigns have performed really, really well. And when I say really well, I'm talking about in the millions of dollars in sales. And the great thing about them is that because the influencers have buy-in, it's content that's going to work its way into a lot of their posts. These products are going to be all over their channels. And subsequently, their followers are going to be posting about it a lot as well. In this example, Rachel Dillon, the one on the right, has a online training program. So the huge thing here was obviously that a lot of those videos and a lot of that content was then being shot in Muscle Nation and Rachel Dillon gear. So that becomes a huge sales channel. And then for Hattie Boyle, she's actually one of a world bodybuilding champion. So again, when she's going to competitions, when she's training for competition, all of that content, she's wearing her own products that she's created with Muscle Nation, and it's just creating a wealth of new product content as well as new eyeballs on the product. And then the last thing I want to do is just talk about a little bonus strategy. And this is a case study similar to what Kevin was talking about, but looking specifically at influencer events. So a couple of years ago, we were working with a client called Face Swim, and they had become really popular after Bella had worn one of their bikinis for a weekend away. Content created about this bikini that she just couldn't take off. And after that, Faye was really lucky to be able to get in with a lot of the Victoria's Secret models and build a really great brand really quickly. But a couple of years in, after spending quite a lot on their influence posts, they were considering whether or not they went with a certain influencer. The post was going to cost them close to about 20 grand. And they were looking at this for a new season launch, but they were wondering if they could use that money in a better way. And what they ended up coming up with was, rather than using the one influencer, they were able to jump into their database, get a lot of insight from their customers and pick out some micro influencers. And rather than use that money on on a single post, they actually flew all those influencers out to their headquarters, and through a massive pool party, they invited some of their customers, but a lot of them were influencers that were in their customer base. And basically, through an all-day event with DJs and photographers there, just shooting content all day. So obviously, this was hugely valuable as a season launch because the influencers were posting all day to their Instagram stories, posting content. They were all wearing the products. They were changing into multiple products throughout the day. So really showing off the range of the collection of things that people could be wearing. But the other great thing about it was that they actually were able to generate a huge amount of content from the day that we were able to use for about 6 months worth of marketing. And this wasn't just in their day-to-day campaigns, but we were actually able to use all this content for all of their automation series. So if you can think, there's sort of 4 or 5 emails in their abandoned cart series, 3 or 4 emails in their welcome series, 4 emails in their post-purchase series, their lapsed customer series. All of this content came from a single day of shooting because they were able to get all of these influencers in their products in so many different stages of the day. So it became a hugely, hugely valuable event that allowed them to save lots of other costs, but also just create a massive amount of awareness from their brand. And they were able to do it by engaging with people that actually genuinely purchased the brand and loved the brand and were creating really, really honest engagement with the product. And that's me for today. Do we have any questions?
Off. There you go. Yeah, we do actually have a couple of questions. So the first one is from Elizabeth. So how should we measure a influencer or affiliate communication strategy in terms of success?
It's a really good question. It can be a difficult one to answer because obviously you're sending these communications out to your affiliates and influencers, but they're not the ones placing the orders, right? So your traditional conversion tracking strategies aren't going to work. But that can be where a product like Refersion really comes into play. Obviously, by using those affiliate codes, you're going to get really, really transparent data on performance around whether or not people are driving sales. But there's reporting in Upfluence that you can look at as well around post engagement and post content, and also brand mentions. So you'll be able to see the rate at which your brand mentions are hopefully increasing, obviously, but you will be able to dig deeper into people who have whether that's only joined recently or have only recently added their handles, and is our general brand awareness and the amount of noise about our brand in social media increasing. And then of course there's your actual revenue metrics that you'll be able to see in Refersion.
Awesome. It looks like we have some other questions, but I think we're going to move on for now, and then we'll come back to do a more solidified Q&A, since I think they can almost be panel questions almost. I think we can all chime in a little bit. Those are always fun.
Right.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and present my screen. Great. All right, so both Kevin and Jason have presented some really compelling strategies that you can apply to your business or to your affiliate and influencer marketing program, specifically around recruiting and motivating. So with that said, I'm going to actually present a couple of strategies that complement what Jason and Kevin were discussing today. And as mentioned, a lot of the times, a lot of traditional influencer marketers usually use the funnel, but you can still apply that funnel in a lot of ways in terms of discovery. And one of the key ways and strategies you want to apply to recruiting influencers and affiliates is having them find you. And just like you would have with customers discovering your brand, you want affiliates to discover your brand as well. And one of those ways that you can do that is by building really engaging content, whether that's through blogs, video content that is hyper targeted to those affiliates and influencers around your program. And one other thing that you want to consider specifically for your affiliate landing pages is that they're SEO friendly, tags are set up correctly, all the basic things that you would do for your customers, but targeted for your affiliates and influencers. So with that in mind, if you have a little account during when ad inventory is a lot cheaper than it was prior to the pandemic, You might want to even consider putting a little bit of ad dollars behind your acquisition of affiliates and influencers. And the way you can do that is through two strategies. One is a ring strategy, and the other one's a lookalike strategy. So with that in mind, you definitely want to have them cookie. The way to do that is definitely build some content, get them engaged, and then you could do maybe a 30-day look back, 60, whatever you think is most doable, and then do a retarget. And on the lookalike side, what you want to do is take your top performing affiliates and influencers, and given that your database is large enough, you can execute a lookalike campaign through Instagram and try to drive awareness of your program. Lastly is promoted through a network. So there's Refersion Marketplace and there's many other networks out there. And that's another great way to, one, put your offer out there and have passive people or have it passively grow over time. And that's another way that you can definitely grow traction there. On to the next one is converting your customers into influencers and affiliates. And Kevin definitely really dove deep into this. And I think that there's a lot of great takeaways in there. But there's a couple additional approaches that you can apply that can convert those customers into influencers and affiliates. Mention leverage the customer journey to make them aware and interested in those programs. But one of the offers that we have at Refersion is we have what's called a post-purchase pop-up, essentially asking for that person's Instagram or, giving that person an opportunity to share a link. And essentially to automatically create a affiliate profile for them within Refersion, and then they can share that. And you've probably seen that across many of the applications used today. So one example is I have this app and it's called like Future Fit, and when I signed up, it's like, hey, refer a friend. And essentially that backend technology is immediately creating me a affiliate profile once I copy that link using automation. Another opportunity is in the unboxing experience. So as you know, it's always great to extend your brand and the experience of your brand through the unboxing. And that's another great opportunity in front of those newly minted customers or repeat customers to drive that interest and get them excited. And that's just another great. And taking what I just talked about before in terms of retargeting, you can retarget your maybe your repeat customers based on a given window. Maybe they've been purchasing more in the last month than your average customer. You might want to consider retargeting those folks and promoting your affiliate and influencer through some retargeting ads as well. And of course, Anzen, the leaders there, leverage email marketing. So once they're into, consider right at the purchase to promote your ambassador program there or throughout communications. As Jason was mentioning, a lot of custom content or exclusive content. And what we found is that customers that were referred by other customers generally have two times lifetime value, which is really important. And I think that's key, especially when we look at how many dollars you want to invest in acquiring affiliates and influencers or customers. Understand where your ceiling is in terms of investment. So the next one's a little bit more on the commission side, and it's always good to change up your commissions from time to time. So I have a couple things in here I would want you to consider, but you definitely need to look at your KPIs to consider these. So don't just do it to do it. You want to definitely take your KPIs into consideration. One is random sales bonuses. So one of the approaches we see a lot of brands that are successful with their affiliate and influencer programs use are random sales bonuses. So what they'll do is once a year award their affiliates a bonus, and they usually factor that into the commission structure as well, and they stagger it out year over year. So it feels like it's really entices that affiliate or influencer to want to continue promoting. And they're like, whoa, that's really cool. Extra $50 or extra increase in percentage or whatever the case is. And a lot of the platforms like Refersion, we can help you do custom commissions like that as well. But when deciding if you're going to do random sales, you want to take some key KPIs or KPIs in this case into consideration. So one of those three key KPIs would be EEPC, or effective earning per click, essentially telling you how effective each click is. And for example, you might have an affiliate that's producing $1,000 while another one's producing 900, but the 900 one might be actually more effective per click than the 1,000 because it took 100 sales versus 50 sales to hit those numbers. Another one is total revenue by affiliate. So this is a pretty basic one, but it is a very important one. And this is really good to understand what affiliates are driving large amounts of revenue or the most revenue comparative to the rest of your affiliates. And you can do that in any given time period as well. And lastly is average order value. So average order value, I think, is a very important KPI, not only for affiliates and influencers, but for anybody working in the e-commerce space. And so keeping those 3 KPIs into consideration and tracking those very closely is going to be able to enable you to better make decisions on, do you sales bonuses, or lastly, do you consider upping commissions during seasonal times? So for example, some brands consider doubling their commissions during summertime, so peak sales times, and those are really key times as well to consider, is like, does my business have seasonal times of selling? And what we found is that 52% of influencers consider fair and competitive compensation as a factor when deciding to work with the brand. And it's just like almost like programmatic ad buying. If it's whoever's the highest bidder, and you want to be competitive in terms of your commissions. But one thing I do always stress with all marketers is, whatever you do, treat your influencers and affiliates as humans, not programmatic ad buys. These are people. So give them that respect, and make sure you have that one-on-one, which leads me into the last strategy. Make it feel exclusive. And there's a couple of ways you can make it feel exclusive. One is have some open communication. So as I mentioned earlier, that one-to-one experience, you can open a Slack channel or a Facebook group where other affiliates and influencers, ambassadors, whatever you want to refer to that group as, can engage with each other and share best practices and maybe even collaborate. And we've seen where influencers will collaborate with each other to drive engagement across channels, or cross promote different products. Another thing is holding office hours. Holding office hours is really cool, especially for new affiliates and influencers, or affiliates and influencers that might need a little bit more help in terms of promoting, or just have some questions. Again, it just creates that one-to-one connection and allows you to have that open communication between your program and the community that is helping drive your brand outside of your traditional marketing team. Another cool thing is consider sending some custom exclusive swag. One organization that has done a really great job, what they do is they build out tier structures. So they have a tier 1 through 4. Now they have 4. They used to have only 3. And essentially, when an affiliate hits so many sales, or number of sales, or number of orders, they will move up those tiers. And that goes back to what Jason was explaining about offering custom and creative content, or excuse me, exclusive content based on the tier levels that they're at. And because of that, we've seen where some brands have actually generated 230% increase in overall revenue when compared to the year before, through their affiliate program specifically. Another cool thing you might want to consider is send a sample and a giveaway. So why a sample and a giveaway? Well, one, you want the influencer or affiliate to test out the product, but two, they might want to give it away on their channel, and that's another really great way to incentivize and promote and motivate those folks. And lastly is co-branding. As Jason mentioned, that brand that was doing the co-branding, we've also seen offer a partner with influencers and co-brand their cosmetic products, and then do a full influencer campaign through YouTube to drive that revenue using a commission structure as well. One brand that rebuilt their entire affiliate commission structure saw that they were able to reduce their CPA by 7x their acquisition channels, which was very powerful. And so with all this in mind, here are some key takeaways just to hit them on the head from the top down. Have them find you, leverage content, get them excited about your program, or get them to learn more about your brand by building very targeted content, focus on affiliates and influencers, and leverage your customer base. Those are your evangelists. And consider changing up commissions from time to time, whether that's a random sales or sales bonus, or increasing commissions based on seasonality. But make sure that your key KPIs are in order before making the decision. And then lastly, make the program feel exclusive. When people are part of something that is special, they tend to be very emotionally well as driven to push the mission of the program or organization. So that's all I have to share with you guys today. Awesome. So I'm going to stop sharing. Oops. Great. So we're going to open up for Q&A. We have some time here. Let's go ahead and pull up some questions. All right. So I guess there's a question for me. Jeremil, does Refersion work with one-click upsell? Yes, we are actually currently integrated with one-click upsell. If you go to refersion.com and you go under partners, there is a section about integrations. And there's actually an overview, and there's two other sections, platforms and apps, and you will see that in there as well. Um, let's see some other things that are coming here. Okay, so this one's from the Starter Company. So how do you get around people signing up as an affiliate just to go and get free products or requesting free products for them to promote? Uh, Kevin, do you have any insight on that, or I can take this one? It's up to you.
I lost you for just half a second,
Oh, let me repeat the question. So
if you
how
don't
do
mind.
you get around people signing up as an affiliate or influencer just to get free products or requesting free products for them to promote?
So you can actually, so that's the big thing, right? What if somebody pretends to be Kim Kardashian, right? Because it's much more likely somebody will pretend to be her than actually them being her. So first, I won't dive into the detail, but we obviously have some verification system that's kind of plays in the background to avoid that from happening. But beyond this, these people, depending on the design of your tool, are going to have to authenticate at some point, right? If they are a Kim Kardashian or they pretend to be, it's not enough just saying it, right? You can automate steps, and I think Jason was talking about it. Like you can have automated action afterwards, saying, if the person has more than 100,000 followers, send her a link. And on Upfronts, we have things like this: send her a link so that they can authenticate. Can it's actually Kim K, and if it's Kim K, I mean, good job. It's a good day. If it's not, you didn't do anything and you didn't send any product, and I think that's kind of where the win. So for nobody's ever going to pretend to be a 8,000 follower Instagram account. There is not much to gain from that. But for the very large people, you can actually set up automated workflows that verify the data of the person, either through an Instagram SSO or through like just a screenshot of their, for example, personal stats on Instagram. You can do both. It's up to you.
Awesome, awesome. And then this next one is from Kanishk. While collaborating with an influencer, should the payment be upfront per post, or should it be paid based on the number of engagement slash reach per post, assuming campaign objectives is brand visibility?
Um, isn't all for me?
I think more for you, Kevin.
Okay. So, Kanishk, I think the real answer is, I mean, it's the same. If everybody could advertise on a CPA basis, everybody would advertise on a CPA basis. Unfortunately, it's not always possible. So, it's kind of a spectrum, right? On the right-hand side, what's more favorable to the brand is CPA. On the left-hand side, what's least favorable to the brand is just one post online and I get paid, and no matter what happens. I personally like models that have a hybrid, even to start with, which is you're gonna pay less for a post. Let's say they ask for $1,000, you give them 300, and then you give them a CPA basis or maybe a bonus for engagements or a bonus for something. This is harder to manage. It makes your company a little more complicated, a little more of a headache. It's not very doable if you work with 3,000 influencers at the same time, but if you have like 10, it's very doable. You can monitor the results through a bunch of different tools and just automatically pay them. I don't think you should. It's going to be really hard for you as a smaller brand. I'm assuming you're a smaller brand, but if you own H&M, then that's a different matter, of course. But if you're a smaller brand, it's usually going to be hard for you to get something purely CPA based. So I would always recommend like just have a situation where it pushes the influencer to produce high quality content, and fingers crossed after that. And that's to start with. But the way you do things is you start with, let's say, 100 people with the fingers crossed. And once you have done that partnership, you will actually know which ones work. So the first time, and Jason was talking about this, the first time it's kind of like you're making a gamble, but the second time you know who works and who doesn't. So it's like it's only a temporary, like kind of Schrodinger influencer, so you know for sure if the cat is dead or alive.
So we actually have quite a few more questions. However, we only do have time for one more question, everyone that's joining us. However, with that said, we will be taking these questions down, and in the follow-up email that is coming out tomorrow, we will be providing answers to those questions. So please be patient, but we do appreciate the great questions that are coming through. So the last question is coming from Anna. what is the most typical affiliate commission when working with influencers? Well, I guess I'll take this one. So it ranges from vertical to vertical. We've seen commission structures range anywhere from 5% all the way up to 30 plus percent. And again, what you want to look at is your overall LTV. And what that means is that's the highest amount of money you're going to pay to acquire a customer. Now, we say ceiling. That doesn't mean just go start at the max. That's crazy. But you know, in terms of what you're working with when setting your commission structure. And with this said, you're going to take a couple of other KPIs into consideration. So how much does it take to actually produce that product? And then other things you want to look at is like paying to acquire that customer. With that said, we actually do have some great resources on our blog that actually really break that down. So we'll actually include that in our follow-up tomorrow as well. Awesome. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Today was a great session. With that said, I want to thank both Jason and Kevin. It's been
Thank you.
awesome. And for
Thank you,
everyone
Richard.
who has joined us today, we want to thank you for your time. It's always great having people join us, especially as the world is ever evolving today. But with that said, if you are interested in learning more about Refersion, you can reach out to our sales team, which is sales@refersion.com. Also, if you want to check out more content or be notified about future content pieces or live virtual events like we're having today, you can hit the subscribe button right here or hit the notification bell to be notified as well. With that said, everyone, we want to thank you again. Please be safe and healthy, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.